The auction house reeked of desperation and credits. I pressed myself against the back wall of the observation gallery, trying to blend in with the crowd of wealthy buyers who'd come to the outer rim station for the quarterly merchandise sale. That's what they called it, merchandise. As if the beings shackled on the platforms below weren't people. I shouldn't have been there. My cargo ship was already running on fumes. My accounts nearly empty after the consortium had accidentally confiscated my last 3 shipments. But I'd heard rumors about this place, about what happened to fighters who lost their value in the arena. And I couldn't shake the image from the underground fighting broadcasts I'd stumbled across 2 months ago. Her, the alien gladiator with violet skin and silver hair, fighting like a storm-given flesh. She'd been magnificent, a warrior who turned combat into deadly poetry. But more than her skill, it was her eyes that haunted me. Even through the grainy footage, even behind the rage and violence required to survive, I'd seen something unbroken in those golden eyes. Lot 17, the auctioneer's voice boomed through the hall. Zarakai of House Torn, former arena champion. Note the extensive scarring, cosmetic value diminished, but combat capability remains high. Excellent choice for security enforcement or private collections. Starting bid, 50,000 credits. My heart stopped as they brought her onto the platform. She was taller than I'd expected, nearly 7 feet of lean, powerful muscle. Her violet skin was indeed marked with scars, silvery lines that traced stories of violence across her arms, shoulders, and one that cut through her left eyebrow. Her silver hair had been shorn close to her skull, probably to prevent opponents from grabbing it. She wore only minimal coverings, and heavy restraints bound her wrists and ankles, but it was her posture that made my chest ache. Even chained, even displayed like property, she stood with her shoulders back and her chin high. Defiant, unbroken, 50,000, called a Vex trader from the front row. 60, countered a human collector known for his private fighting rings. I checked my account balance, 15,000 credits, everything I had left in the universe. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. 70,000. Zarakai's golden eyes swept the crowd, her expression carefully blank. I wondered what she was thinking, if she was hoping for a merciful buyer or if she'd given up on mercy long ago. 80,000 to the gentleman in section 3. My mind raced. There had to be something I could do. I couldn't just stand here and watch her be sold to someone who'd use her, break her, turn her into something less than she was. 90,000. Then I remembered. My cargo vessel wasn't worth much, old, battered, held together by duct tape and prayers, but it was registered and functional. In this sector, that meant something. 100,000 to Lord Vexner. Do I hear? 150,000, I shouted, my voice cutting through the hall. Every head turned toward me. The auctioneer's translator device flickered as it processed my bid. Sir, I'll need verification of funds before. I'm offering 15,000 credits plus full ownership of the cargo vessel currently docked at Bay 17. The Wanderer's Hope. Registration code Delta 77 Kappa. My voice was steadier than I felt. Total value 150,000 as assessed by Station Commerce 3 weeks ago. Murmuring rippled through the crowd. Lord Vexner, a massive reptilian being draped in expensive silks, turned to glare at me with his multiple eyes. This is highly irregular, the auctioneer protested. But not illegal, I countered. Consortium auction rules allow asset transfers in lieu of credit bids, section 47, subsection 12. I'm prepared to transfer the title immediately. The auctioneer consulted with his assistants. On the platform, Zarakai's eyes had found me in the crowd. Her expression hadn't changed, but I saw something flicker in those golden depths, confusion maybe, or curiosity. Very well, the auctioneer finally announced. We have a bid of 150,000 credit equivalent from the human in the back. Lord Vexner, do you wish to counter? The reptilian lord studied me with cold calculation. Then his gaze shifted to Zarakai, to her scars and her defiant stance, and something like disgust crossed his features. Let the fool have the damaged goods. I have no interest in broken merchandise. Sold. The gavel came down. Lot 17 to the human buyer. Please proceed to transfer processing. The next hour passed in a blur of paperwork and identity verification. I signed away the title to my ship, my home, my livelihood, my only real possession, and watched as the credits were processed. Then they brought Zarakai to the transfer room, still chained, flanked by guards. Up close, she was even more imposing. Her golden eyes studied me with an intensity that made me want to look away, but I forced myself to meet her gaze. The restraints will remain until you leave station property, the transfer agent said, handing me a control chip. Standard protocol for combat acquisitions. This chip allows you to adjust restriction setting. I recommend keeping them active until you've established dominance protocols. Take them off, I said. The agent blinked. Sir, the restraints, take them off now. That's highly inadvisable. This specimen has a violent history. She's not a specimen, she's a person. And I'm ordering you to remove the restraints, all of them. The agent looked at me like I'd lost my mind but gestured to the guards. They approached Zarakai warily, unlocking the heavy cuffs around her wrists and ankles. The metal fell away with heavy clanks. For a moment, Zarakai just stood there, staring at her freed hands as if she couldn't quite believe it. Then, faster than I could track, she moved. Her hand locked around my throat, slamming me against the wall. The guards shouted, reaching for weapons, but I raised my hand to stop them. Don't, I choked out. Stand down. Zarakai's face was inches from mine, her golden eyes blazing with fury and confusion. Why? She demanded, her voice a low growl with an accent I couldn't place. Why did you buy me? What do you want? Nothing, I gasped. I want nothing from you. Liar, everyone wants something. So tell me what sick game you're playing before I crush your windpipe. Black spots were dancing at the edges of my vision, but I kept my hands at my sides, making no move to fight back. Not a game, just couldn't. Let them sell you to someone who'd use you. Her grip loosened slightly. Use me? You're not property, you're a person. You deserve freedom. She released me abruptly and I slumped against the wall, gasping for air. The guards had their weapons trained on her, but Zarakai ignored them, her attention fixed on me. Freedom, she repeated like the word was foreign. You paid everything you had. I heard them talking about your ship for my freedom. I nodded, still catching my breath. Why? Because. I straightened up, meeting her eyes. Because I saw you fight 2 months ago on the underground broadcast, and I saw someone who wasn't beat, even after everything they'd done to you. Someone who deserved better than to be sold like cargo. Zarakai was silent for a long moment. Then she turned to the transfer agent. The paperwork, show me. The agent nervously pulled up the contract on his data pad. Zarakai studied it, her expression unreadable. This says you own me. Full acquisition, no term limits, no conditions of release. I know what it says, I replied quietly. But there's a manumission clause in Section 9. I'm signing it now. I took the data pad and entered my credentials, officially releasing any claim to her. You're free, legally free. You can go wherever you want. The agent's jaw dropped. Sir, do you have any idea how much? I know exactly how much. I handed the data pad to Zarakai. It's done. You're no one's property, not mine, not theirs, not anyone's. She stared at the document, at the official consortium seal marking her as a free being. Her hands trembled slightly. I have nothing, she said softly. No credits, no ship, no way off this station. Freedom is worthless if I'm trapped here. I had 15,000 credits. Used them for the bid. But I have some emergency funds stashed, enough for a shuttle ticket to any of the core worlds. It's yours. And what will you do? You just gave up your ship. I shrugged, trying to ignore the hollow feeling in my chest when I thought about the Wanderer's hope. I'll figure something out. Work passage on someone else's vessel, maybe. I'm a decent navigator. You're an idiot, Zarakai said flatly. Probably. She looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something shift in her expression. Rage and suspicion were still there, but underneath it, something else was emerging. In my culture, she said slowly, there is a concept called kaishara, life debt. When someone saves your life, you owe them a debt that can only be repaid through service. I'm not finished. Her golden eyes pinned me in place. The debt cannot be refused. It is sacred. You pulled me from slavery, from a fate worse than death. Whether you want it or not, Marcus Chen, you have bound me to you through kaishara. How do you know my name? It was on the contract. Pay attention. She crossed her arms. You have no ship, no income, no prospects. You'll be destitute within weeks. Alone on this station, you'll be easy prey for the cartels and slavers. I'll manage. No, you won't, but together we might. She stepped closer, and despite everything, I didn't feel threatened. I am a warrior. I have skills that people will pay for if they're willing to hire a freed gladiator, which most won't. But with a human partner, someone respectable to handle negotiations and contracts, we could work as a team. Security, protection services, maybe even bounty hunting. You want to work with me? I want to repay my debt, and I want to survive. This serves both purposes. She held out her hand, and I noticed the scars across her knuckles, each one a story. I cannot give you back your ship. I cannot undo your sacrifice, but I can offer you partnership, my strength for your whatever it is humans contribute. Stunning wit and charm, I suggested, taking her hand. Her grip was firm but careful, as if she was hyper-aware of her own strength. The corner of her mouth twitched, almost a smile. We'll see. First rule of our partnership: I handle combat situation. You handle the talking, because if you negotiate as poorly as you bid at auctions, we're doomed. That seems fair. Second rule: we split earnings evenly. True partners. Agreed. Third rule: you never, ever make decisions about my life without consulting me. I've had enough of others controlling my fate. Absolutely. She studied me again, and this time I saw the warrior facade crack just slightly. Why did you really do it? Don't give me that noble speech about freedom. There's more to it. I thought about lying, about giving her some sanitized version, but she deserved honesty. Because I saw myself in you, I admitted. Not the fighting, I can barely throw a punch. But the defiance. I've spent my whole life being pushed around by people with more power and credits, told I didn't matter, that I should just accept my place. And I saw you standing on that platform, chained and scarred and sold, and you still wouldn't bow. You wouldn't break, and I thought, if she can stay unbroken through all that, the least I can do is help her stay free. Zarakai was quiet. For so long I thought I'd said too much. Then she released my hand and placed hers over her chest in what looked like a formal gesture. You are either the bravest human I've ever met or the most foolish, possibly both. Her golden eyes softened just a fraction. But I think, Marcus Chen, that this partnership might work after all. Yeah, now come on, we need to find work quickly before your emergency funds run out. And you need to teach me about human culture. I've spent 5 years in the arena. I barely remember how to function in normal society. And you need to teach me how you do that thing where you move so fast I can't see it. That could be useful. She actually smiled then, a real smile that transformed her entire face. Deal. But first, food, real food, not the nutrient paste they feed arena fighters. I want to taste something that isn't designed for optimal muscle development. We left the transfer station together. An unlikely pair. The broke human who'd gambled everything on a stranger's freedom, and the unbroken warrior who'd been sold but never conquered. I had no ship, no home, and barely enough credits for a week's worth of meals. But walking beside Zarakai, watching her tilt her face toward the artificial sunlight of the station's central hub like a flower discovering the sun, I realized I'd gained something far more valuable than anything I'd lost. Purpose. A partnership, and maybe, just maybe, the beginning of something that looked like hope.